on my hair. It's sweaty. We need to be washed. I need to wash. I might wash it tonight. You look like you're in my lane, but I need to get in. Nope, you're not. Yes, you was. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in. Let's talk about first impressions. People always say, or at least when we were brought up, we were taught first impressions means everything. And it does. It really does. Your first impression that people have of you, it really means a lot, and it goes a long way. So like if I meet you for the first time and you just nasty, your attitude nasty, you act like you better than everybody else, I'm probably not going to want to hang with you or be associated with you. This is what I tell our kids. Like, you got to watch who you hang with and who you be around, because when people see who you hanging with, you're automatically associated with that group now. And what people feel about the actual people in the group that is not doing right, they say the same about you. But, you know, it's not always, the first impression is not what will always stick. If your next impression is worse than your first one, the next time somebody has an encounter with you, if you are number one, if you're much nicer than what you were the first time, or let's say the first time people met you and you were just nasty, and because of school activities or your job activities, you guys have to hang out again. And then next time y'all hang out, you a different person. You're nicer, you're much sweeter. People are like, okay, maybe they was having a bad day first time I met them. So now they have a better impression of you. So, but if your first impression that people have of you is, oh, that's a really nice person, oh, I like to hang with that person, but then the next time you have to encounter this person and they're different, they got an attitude, they nasty about everything that's going on, they're argumentative for no reason, now they have now you've put a new first impression, and that's what people are going to go by. They're not going to go by the fact that, oh, when I first met them, they were nice. They're going to go by what's going on right now in that moment, in the encounter that they're having. So say you're a lawyer or a doctor or a teacher, a principal, even a pastor, and you're hanging out, whether it's because of work, church, school, you got kids that are playing on a team, and now all of a sudden you being nasty because you didn't like what happened. Well, the first impression that I had of you, that impression is going out the window, especially if we got to hang out more than one time for whatever reason, and that new behavior continues on. There's multiple times that new behavior is happening. Now I got a different impression of it. So when we are teaching as adults, when we teach our children about first impressions, you need to be mindful and careful to teach the children that your first impression won't stick or won't be the impression that people continue to look at you on if your next encounter is not as good as your first one. Or if the first encounter was just bad. You had a bad day, you was just a terrible person, but then the next time you had to encounter the same group of people, you're nice and you're respectful. Now, people have a new impression of you that makes them want to hang out with you. And I think it's important that kids are taught this. Instead of just teaching kids, the first impression is what matters. It's every impression that matters. Every time you are with a group of people, that matters. There's a fly. It's bothering me. That's what I'm getting. I think I got it twice. But kids need to know that it's not just the first impression that sticks. Your first impression definitely can be the leading factor of whether a group of people want to hang out with you again. But your first impression, if it gets you in the group, and once you're in the group, that first impression does not carry on, and then your next encounter, you're nasty, you lose friends that way. You lose respect that way. If I'm hanging around a principal or a teacher, you ain't even gotta be a principal, just a teacher, even a librarian. If I'm hanging around a librarian and I've seen you at the school and you're cool, you're real cool, then all of a sudden I got a new impression of you because you didn't like something that happened at the event that we're at. Now I got to worry about, are you really treating my kids right? Are my kids really okay around you as a teacher or a librarian, even a doctor or a dentist? Should I let my child go back there without me after this new impression I have seen? Because first impressions are great, they are, but each time you encounter a person, all of that matters. All of it absolutely matters, and it's important. And it's something that I have recently learned as an adult. I have recently learned that it's not just the first impressions that matter. Every impression matters. As most of you all know, I am I'm a coach for basketball and baseball, so I deal with parents just like teachers have to deal with parents. And there's a lot of parents that feel like their kids are entitled to certain things. And those impressions that are given as a coach, once I'm seeing how the parents are acting, it's like, wow, okay, this is different. It's not what I'm used to seeing. And so you just gotta be careful. You gotta be careful how you're acting. As an adult, you also have to be careful how you act in front of children. Because do you think a kid is really going? We as adults, we're sitting at a child's game arguing. A kid's game. So it's a child's game. Why are the adults arguing? Kids are going to be rough. It's a contact sport. The kid's going to get hit sometime. Doesn't mean that they're being targeted if they are getting fouled more in basketball. You know, if your kid is a point guard or a shooting guard, meaning they're going to have the ball a lot, your child may get fouled a lot. That doesn't mean that the kids are doing it on purpose. It's a contact sport. And, you know, sometimes, I mean, I don't really know what some parents are really thinking when they put their kid in a sport. When you put your kid in a sport, do you really expect that they won't get fouled multiple times in a game? Especially if they always have the ball. Now, as a coach, I do teach, don't foul. I do teach, grab the ball, not the person. I say that all the time. But when you out there playing that game, you're trying to grab the ball. And sometimes you end up getting the person. And as adults, I just feel like you should not be getting upset over a game. Now, if a child, you could tell if a child is intentionally hitting another child during a game versus it's just a foul. They're going after the ball. They got the child instead of the ball. You could tell the difference. Now, if there's a child out there just blatantly swinging on everybody, that's different. That warrants somebody to be upset. But still, as adults, it's better ways to handle those situations. Instead of yelling out and screaming, you better get your kid, or don't keep hitting on my kid like that. There's better ways to handle it. If for whatever reason the coach doesn't see it, or the refs look like they don't see it, because sometimes the refs don't see it all. They are busy watching the ball, trying to ensure that the person who has the ball is not double dribbling, they're not walking, they're not going to shoot the ball, but they jump and come back down with the ball. That's a travel as well. So they're trying to watch for things like that and fouls around the ball. So if there's something happening away from the ball, as an adult, instead of yelling out and screaming, you could calmly walk over to the coach and say, hey, you know, I keep seeing this kid, he's hitting my kid, or this kid keeps hitting other kids and no one's saying anything. Can you watch that? And then that brings attention to the coach, and the coach can watch for that. And then if the coach is seeing it and the refs are still not seeing it, then the coach can let the refs know, hey, number so-and-so, he or she is doing a lot of hitting and they don't even have the ball, they're pushing. Can you watch for that? And the refs will watch for that. Same thing in baseball and any other sport. In baseball, if you got a kid, like our team, we played against a team Monday, and they had a couple of kids that they were doing some things I didn't like because they shouldn't have been doing it. They had a kid that was standing in the base runner's line, and I would tell the kid, and I say, hey kid, you can't be in the base runner's line. You gotta step in front or step behind. And the kid would just look at me. He would move, but then he would move right back into the spot he wasn't supposed to be in. So instead of me getting upset and screaming at him really loudly, I just kept telling him, hey, you got to move back. You got to get out the runner's line. Hey, kid, you can't be in that runner's line. And after the game was over with, I politely let the coach know, your kid on shortstop, he kept standing in the base runner's line. And I would ask him to move, and he would move and get right back in it. Coach said, thank you. I will have a talk with him. There's better ways to handle situations than to make an argument out of everything. Also, as adults, you got to be careful what you're saying about people's kids. We all get caught up in the games, but you have to be careful what you're saying about people's kids. The things that you say about people's kids, that starts arguments too. Arguments that don't need to happen at a kid's game or in front of kids. And if, as a parent, you hear another adult say something about your kid and you don't like it, you shouldn't take it upon yourself to confront that adult. You should let your coach know. Let the coach approach that adult. Cam, hey, I miss you. Let your coach know so the coach can approach the parent. And if that parent is not approachable and the coach already knows it, then the coach can then take it to a ref, or it could be taken to whoever is heading the sport at that time. So like for basketball, if I had an issue and the parents were just outrageous, then I would just go to the director of sports and let them know and let them handle it. Now in baseball, I haven't had to go to the umps, but if I encounter an adult who is outrageous and I need to go to the ump, I would just go over to the ump and tell them, hey, there's an adult over here doing blah, 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 blah. Can you talk to them? The umps do not mind having that conversation. But as adults, none of that should have to happen, because you should have better behavior. You should know how to act in public, and you should be setting better examples for children on how they should act. Also, got to teach your kids to be respectful, especially those adults who have authority over them. If you got a coach and the coach is telling your kid to do something, they should be listening. What?
I wore some.
That's good. And y'all ain't got no keys?
I do.
Now go open the door. Gabriel, get out. Get all that stuff. I don't take kindly to disrespect from anyone, but definitely not from a child. I don't let my kids disrespect me. I won't let your kids disrespect me. If I'm coaching basketball, baseball, my husband coaches football and soccer, and when I'm helping him out, even those kids, I don't allow anybody's kid to be disrespectful to me. If your child is asked to do something, they should just do what they're asked. You know, another thing I feel like adults don't truly realize is that the coaches for Parks and Rec, we are volunteers. We are not getting paid for this. We don't get paid to coach your kids. We don't get paid to deal with y'all's attitudes. We don't get paid to deal with your disrespect as an adult. And we don't get paid to deal with the disrespect from your children. So, as a coach, as a volunteer coach, I feel I speak for all the volunteer coaches when we say, please make sure your kids are respectful to us. And you as well, be respectful to us. If we're asking your kid to do something, it's what we need the kid to do in order to have a good game. Also, in order to be safe. We don't want any kid getting hurt. And so, just make sure the kids are being respectful and listening and doing what they're told. And then as adults, you shouldn't be arguing with the coaches either. We don't need parents trying to tell us how to coach, because you could volunteer and coach yourself personally. You want to tell the coaches how to coach, sign up and coach next time. But until you sign up and coach, it's not respectful to try to tell a coach how to coach. Now, as a coach, I have no problem with parents asking if they could help out. I have no problem with parents asking if I need help, or if a parent sees something that I'm not catching. I have no problem with the parents saying, hey, do you mind if I show them how to do this a little bit better? Yeah, cool. I don't mind working with the parents as a team. What I do mind is having a parent disrespect me, talk over me, yell at me because I'm telling their kid what they should be doing, because I'm telling their kid that they're doing something wrong, and now the parent is mad because I'm telling the kid this is what they need to be doing. I'm a sports person. I know what I'm doing. I've been coaching basketball for many years. For those who actually were at the basketball games, everyone could see how well my team was doing, how much they improved from day one. I saw the improvement with my team. And to have a parent who, first off, it wasn't even a parent, it was a grandparent, come up to me and tell me I need to tell my kids to pass the ball, it's outrageous. And then they didn't even see the first two games. The first two games, there was so much ball movement going on. And then the second thing I tried to explain to this grandparent is, if the kids are not moving and the defense is right on them, they're not going to get the ball. I'm not going to tell my offense to throw the ball to a kid who's standing right next to the defense. The defense is going to grab the ball. When I coached basketball, I was teaching the kids, you got to move around. I try to teach small plays that get them moving. When you're moving, it's a lot easier for the ball to be passed around. Now, those that were actually at the games know for a matter of fact, I teach ball movement. I don't remember which team we played against, but we played against one team. My kids were doing very, very well. We were very much ahead in score, and everybody on the team had scored except for one boy. And I think the whole fourth quarter, we did nothing but focus on passing the ball to that one kid, trying to allow that one kid to score. Now, if the kid on the team had the ball and they had a wide open shot, they took that shot. But if they didn't have a wide open shot, we focused on getting the ball to that kid so that kid could score. He didn't end up scoring, but he ended up having a lot of shots that he was taking because of ball movement. And I say all that to say, again, don't go up to coaches trying to tell them how to coach. You can go up and ask questions. You can go up and you can kind of say, I was watching a game and it didn't look like a lot of ball movement was going on. What was happening? And as a coach, I'll let you know. Well, this kid and this kid and this kid, they weren't moving at all. I can't throw the ball to them if the defense is always on them. They got to move and get open. I don't mind explaining that stuff to them. Same thing with baseball. Definitely a different sport. However, when it comes to baseball, the kids that I put in the dirt, they're the kids that catch better than maybe the rest of the team. I can't put a kid in the dirt that can't catch the ball, because we would never get anyone out on base. I can't put a kid in the dirt who can't throw the ball either. You can't throw at a distance. If you can't throw a distance, I can't put you in the dirt. Because there's a lot of throwing that has to happen from first, second, third, and home. There's a lot of strategy that happens when I coach. These are all the things that are going through my mind when I think about where I'm going to place people, whether it's basketball or baseball. Like I said, my husband coaches soccer, but even with soccer, there's strategies to that too, where I would place people. There's a strategy to who I would put as goalie, who I would put on defense helping the goalie out, and who I would put on offense trying to score. If you're not a strong kicker, I'm not going to have you at the goal trying to make that goal. I may put you in the middle so that the ball can be passed from the backside to the middle, and you could pass it to the next person, and the person that kicks the strongest can go and score. Now, there's also a strategy to who I put in the outfield, where I place them, whether you're right field, left field, or center field. In Parks and Rec, most of the balls, last year, I didn't coach, but my kids played, of course, so most of the balls that were hit, it went center field. Few balls went left field, a few maybe right field. So what I do now is I make sure that my center field has a good arm. And having a good arm, that center field can also run, and they can get that ball and get it back in quickly. If I'm watching the game and the team we're playing against, they actually have some good hitters and they're hitting it left field, then I'll change up who I have left field and who I have right field. On my team now, I have a lot of kids that this is their first time ever playing. And so I have to work with them on throwing. And we throw long distance in practice. And I just motivate them the entire time. And I'm constantly talking. And I am loud. We are outside. We are spread out. I have to be loud so you can hear me. And we work on throwing. And we work on hitting. And we work on pitching. And we work on running. And when we run, it's a race. So when they're running from home to first, I let the person get a little bit of a lead. And then I tell the next person to go. And I am hollering the entire time. Catch them, catch them, catch them, catch them, catch them. That encourages the kids. Number one, the person that's in the front is going to run faster because they don't want to be caught. The kid behind them is running faster because they want to catch them. And so that is what we do in practice. That encourages them all to run faster. And since our first practice, every kid has improved tremendously. And so it's getting easier to place them in the outfield. It's getting easier to say, okay, yeah, you definitely should be here and you should be here. My infield stays pretty much the same. Had a little bit of a change up. I do have some more kids that can catch. So we changed it up just a little bit, just depending on how the kids do and how they are listening to. If you're not listening, then I'll have to move you around. Because number one, when you're not listening, you can get hurt. And so we move kids around if I need to. But some practices I will pitch to the kids. That allows them to hit and get used to hitting. And then also encourages them and lets them see that they can actually hit the ball. Because sometimes when the kids are pitching to each other, number one, the pitches may not be getting where they need to go. That's number one. Number two, sometimes kids, they like to pitch really quick and really fast. And sometimes kids don't get the concept that this is practice. So I need you as a pitcher to just focus on getting it across the plate, but also allowing your teammates to hit the ball so they get used to hitting it. Because if you have a practice where the kids never get to hit, how are they going to hit in a game when they don't know what it feels like to hit the ball? when they don't have the confidence to know that they can hit the ball because they never hit it in practice. So sometimes I'll pitch to the kids, allowing them to be able to hit the ball. And in doing that, I found out myself that I do have some hitters on my team. They just have to have that confidence. Once they start hitting, the confidence builds in them. And then they're like, hey, I can hit the ball. So then when they get in the game, they hit the ball. You have some good innings. You have some innings where they don't hit at all. You have some innings where they are hitting. My team has gotten multiple compliments from other coaches. I've had a couple of coaches tell me, you've got some hitters on your team. And I'm like, thank you. And that, like I said, it comes from building the confidence. You give them a chance to hit it in practice, it carries on to the game. When I pitch, I'm not pitching really fast balls, but I'm not pitching really slow balls either. And then I'm mixing it up, because in the game, they're not going to get the same ball every time. They're going to get some balls that's kind of high, some's kind of low, some is a little out, some a little in. So I do mix my pitches up. And doing so, they're able to read the ball. They're able to recognize what's an actual strike, what's a ball, what they should swing at, what they shouldn't swing at, what's too high and what's too low, what's too far out and what's what's in to the point that they could hit it, or what's too close to their bodies. So I also, I have a paddle that I got from Amazon. And so like the center of the paddle is the same material that is on a trampoline. And so then that material has like bungee cords attached to it, and it's wrapped around a metal like frame, a metal like frame with a handle. And so I use that to work on pop flies. And a lot of our practices, we do probably 20 to 30 minutes of pop flies, where I am just hitting the ball way in the air and the kids are having to track the ball. And because of that, we are getting some catches in the air. We are getting a lot of close call catches where they're right there at it, but they miss it, or it hits the glove and it pops out of the glove. So then we don't get the out. But from what we're doing in practice, they're able to take that into the game, and they're able to do better in practice. I definitely motivate to move. I'm teaching them. A lot of kids like to turn their glove backwards. I don't know why, but they do. A lot of them do it. So we're trying to work on breaking that. So I do teach them, and I show them. I'm not just telling them what to do. I am showing them what I want them to do. So when I say move your body and get in front of that ball, I'm showing them what that looks like. And that is just a side step to the left or the right, whichever the way the ball is going. Turn your glove over and let that ball hit the glove. I also tell them, let the ball hit the glove, then squeeze. I have a lot of kids that close the glove before the ball actually hits the inside. So then you have the ball, the glove, they're closing it and the ball is hitting here. So I am constantly telling them, let the ball, feel the ball hit your glove, squeeze it. Catchers, not everybody can catch. And I explained to the kids, because I do have a lot of kids that asked about catching. And I did explain to them, I will not put you as a catcher if you're not moving. If you can't get up off the ground to go chase the ball down, I can't put you as a catcher, because you need to be able to move fast to keep people from scoring. I also let them know that as a catcher, that ball is popped in the air anywhere around you, you need to be hustling to catch that ball. I make sure I let them know that even if the person hits the ball, if you catch it, it's an out. I make sure that my first base and my third base know If it is a foul ball, if you catch it in the air, they're out. So I do encourage my kids to go after the foul balls. I encourage them to hustle at all times. And a lot of games, they look really, really good. So, as far as like scoring goes, at our scrimmage, I believe the score, we haven't won any games yet, but I believe for the scrimmage, the score was 16-4, I think. And then the first game was 15-4. And then the next game, I believe, was 11-7. And then we had a game 15-6 maybe. The game that was 11-7, we actually started out winning. It was 3-0 for 2 innings, I believe. And then we made a mistake on throwing. It was an overthrow from, I think, first to third. And when they did that, a couple people ran in. And then there was a hit, and I think it went outfield. And so that allowed another run to go through. And so then, hey, Danielle. So then after that, I think we went another inning or two where the other team was not scoring. And then we scored a few runs. I think there was one time we had bases loaded, and one of my kids hit the ball, and we had about 2 people run in maybe. And then we got another hit, and another person ran in, so that got us up to 7. And so my main focus is that the kids improve. That is my main focus. I teach fundamentals. I teach good sportsmanship. I teach respect. I teach correct ways to catch the ball, correct way to throw. I played softball probably once when I was a kid. And then I played once as an adult back when I worked at StarTech. We had a group and we played adult softball. And hadn't really played since then. However, for me personally, I don't have to play the sport to be able to coach it and to be able to ensure that the kids improve and get better. As long as the kids are listening to me, doing what I'm asking them to do, we can be winners. I do study a lot on the sports that I'm coaching. So I watch a lot of videos, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If I'm seeing, whether it's baseball or softball, it doesn't matter which one you study. They're all doing the same thing. The only difference is, number 1, the balls that they use, and number 2, how they pitch. Softball pitches underhand, baseball pitches overhand. Other than that, they all got to get around the base. They all got to get tagged to be out, or the base has to be tagged to be out, depending on which way the play is, which we make sure the kids understand that too. If the player is stealing a base, you have to tag the person. If the kid is on the base and there's a kid behind them and they have to run, you just tag the base. So if there's a player on first and you got a hitter, and that person, say the pitcher throws the ball and it is a ball, first base takes off running, you need to tag the person because they didn't have to run. But say first base, somebody's on first base and the hitter actually hits the ball, now they both need to run and you can just tag the base. So I'm teaching tag the base or tag the person, but I make sure they know which way it needs to go. Today we worked on catching and throwing it quickly and moving quickly so that they can carry that over into the game. Because sometimes the kids, they may get the ball, but they're not hustling to throw the ball where they need to throw it to. So they're also not paying attention during the game. So then they don't know where they need to throw it to. So we have to let them know where to throw it to. Speaking of that, as parents, grandparents, cousins, friends, neighbors, whatever, when you're out and you're in the audience, in the crowd, it would be lovely if you guys don't tell the kids where to go, which way to go, because as a coach, we may want them to go somewhere different. And so if everybody's yelling for the kid to do something, then number one, can't hear the coach. And then number two, they're confused because they hear so many different commands. So like an example is when they're running bases. If I got a kid on second and I want them to run to me to third and I want them to stop because I see that the ball is being thrown back to the pitcher, but they hear the crowd or they hear mom and dad saying run, 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 and then they get out, but coach was saying stay, 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 stay. Those are moments where as adults it's hard to not scream and tell the kid to do something, but you really have to hold back and let the coaches coach. Let the coaches tell the kids where to go. Even in basketball, we've given the kids some plays to run. We've told the kids where we want the ball to go to. But then when the crowd is yelling at them to do this, do that, do that, it makes it confusing for the kids. It makes it hard for the coach to coach. And then you're, as an adult, now you're upset with coach because coach is getting on your kid because your kid's not doing what coach said to do. So now you're mad with the coach because coach is yelling at your kid. Your kid is upset because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're trying to do the best they can. But coach said do this, and that's what needs to happen. So give the coaches some grace. Because again, we are volunteers. We don't get paid for this. We volunteer our time away from our families, away from other events that we could be going to, such as church or a movie, going out to dinner. There's a lot of things coaches miss when they're being a coach. We have to get practices in. We have to be at the games. You got to be there at a certain time. You can't, as a coach, I can't just drop my kid off and, go. So, give the coaches some grace. Give the coaches respect. Know how to talk to the coaches. Know how to talk to one another. If something's happening and you don't like it, you know yourself. You know within yourself whether you are capable of having an adult conversation with an adult without it becoming an argument or leading into a possible fight. When you go to have conversations as adults, you shouldn't be screaming and yelling at one another. As an adult, you shouldn't be screaming and yelling at a coach. As an adult, you should want your kids to see better examples of how to handle situations. If a kid is standing there and every time you don't like something that has happened, you are arguing with the other adult, what do you think your kids are doing in school? Just being honest, what do you think your kids are really doing in school if every time something happens, you as an adult, you are just arguing with the teacher, you're arguing with the coaches, you're arguing with the principal, and your kid is always standing there watching you? And maybe it's not your kid that's standing there watching, but it's another kid that's standing there watching you. And then that kid goes back and tells your kid, hey, your mom and dad, they were in the office going off. As the adult, you probably feel like you're just taking up for your child. And it's okay to take up for your child, but it's how you took up for your child. You were disrespectful when you did it. You didn't allow the other adult to explain anything that happened. And I know a lot of times you hear a lot of adults say that you should always trust what your kid is saying. No, not always. You know your kid. You know what they do at home. You know what they do when they're hanging out with cousins. You know what they're doing when they're hanging out with some of their little friends. You know what your kids are doing. So you should not always act as if your child ain't never did nothing wrong. Because all y'all kids, my kids included, they all done did something they shouldn't have been doing. I do not take the word of my child in every situation. And I've had some adults that didn't like what I had to say. Or not what I had to say. I've had some adults not like the fact that I didn't take their side on the situation because I want to know both sides. And I am like this with adults too. If an adult comes to me and says, oh, so-and-so did such and such, I'm going to say, okay, so what did you do? Because I want to know both sides. I'm not taking a side when it comes to any situation. If a kid comes and tell me this person did such, 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 such. Okay, so what were you doing when all of this happened? What did you do for this kid to do this to you? I want to know both sides, because there are times when a child is defending themselves, strictly defending themselves. But the child they defended themselves against chose to go tell before your child did. So now your child has gotten in trouble. And all the teacher or the adult that they were talking to, all they did was took the word of that child who decided to go tell. And for that reason alone, I do not take what the child has come to me and said. I need to know both sides. If my kid comes over to me and tells me that kid over there is hitting me, my first question is, what were you doing? What did you do for that kid to hit you? If my kid said, oh, well, I called him stupid. Okay. He shouldn't have put his hands on you, but you shouldn't have called him stupid. That wasn't right. We're going to go talk about this. I'm going to go and talk to the child and say, hey, did you hit him? And if that child says, yeah, and then I'm going to let that child know, he shouldn't have called you stupid, but you can't put your hands on people because they called you a name. You can't put your hands on people because they said something you didn't like. If they're saying something you don't like, you need to go and let an adult know. This kid is talking about me and I don't appreciate it. You can, as a kid, you can talk to the kid and say, hey, I don't appreciate the stuff that you're saying about me. If that kid doesn't understand what you're saying, then you go tell the teacher. That's what I tell our kids. It's just words. Yeah, it hurts. But those words didn't kill you. Those words didn't stab you. You didn't die from it. You're not bleeding. You're going to survive. You don't like what they're saying to you, politely let them know, hey, I don't appreciate what you're saying. If it continues on, then you go let the teacher know. After you've told the teacher and it continues on, then you let me know and I will handle it. Because when my kids come to me and tell me such and such, such, such happened, I go right to Class Dojo and I message those teachers. And those teachers message me back. A lot of times I get messages that same night that says, thank you for letting me know. I will handle that in the morning. And when it is handled, I get a message back letting me know it's been handled. When my kid gets home, I ask my kid, was it handled? And they say, yes, it was. So there's better ways of doing things than to be arguing all the time, than to be disrespectful to one another. Then is better ways to handle the situations, especially in front of kids. Teach your kids is better ways to handle these situations. I was at field day today, and I would tell the kids, okay, you got to get in the back of the line. And they would look me dead in my eyes and say, why? Because I said so. because you're pushing. Now go get in the back of the line. I had one kid that definitely refused to get in the back of the line. Just stood there. Okay, cool. And what I did, I put my hand out like this. And I told the other kids, come up here. You come up here. Come up here. And I just moved all the kids. Come up here. Come up here. That kid had no choice but to move back. I didn't have to move that child. I didn't have to put my hand on the kid. I just put my hand in front of the child so they couldn't move forward. And I moved all the other kids around. And I told him, now you go stand back there. And he went and stood back there. It's just better ways to handle situations than what I've been seeing people do. It doesn't make sense to need security at a child's game. It doesn't make sense, especially Parks and Rec. They start at 4 and 5. They play at the Y. And then at the middle school, it's 6 and 7. And then it's 8 through 10. And then 11 through 13. It makes absolutely no sense to need the police officers in those games on duty, because as adults you don't know how to act. And then when the teachers are constantly calling you, letting you know your kid's got a smart mouth, your kid is not listening to me, your kid keeps putting their hand on people, but you mad because they keep letting you know this is what your kid is doing. Y'all gotta stop and think, why is my kid doing this? What have I been doing in front of my kid that they feel it's okay to do this? 95% of the time, these teachers are not lying to you when they're telling you what your kid is doing. Now, I've had some teachers contact me about my twins to say a kid said they did this. And I straight up told the teacher, I don't trust what other children say. Now, if you as an adult, if you tell me you saw my child do this, then I'll take your word for it. But I'm not going to take your word if you tell me that another child said my child did a certain thing that I know for a fact they would not do. I'm not going to take the word of a child. It will have to be investigated. As a teacher, I will let you know you need to look at the cameras. And if you see it on camera, that is when I will discipline my child for that situation. Now, if a kid tells a teacher that my kid hit them, again, I need to know the situation. Because a lot of times, even in my house, there's a lot of times I didn't see who started it, but I heard who was finishing it. It's the same thing that's in school, which is why we teach our kids to go tell the teacher, because a lot of these classes got like 18 kids in it, and the teacher can't always see who started it. But because of the person who's finishing it is loud, that's who is caught. That's who is in trouble. And that's how it is at home. And I tell the kids, listen, there ain't no get backs in this house. Something happens, you need to come tell me or your daddy. Let us handle it. A lot of times they understand that. And they come and let us know. And it's getting better. It's getting better. They come and say, hey, Isaiah's swinging on me. Now I'm going to get Isaiah. Now we have cameras in our house. For the simple fact, kids be lying. Okay? For the simple fact, no kid is going to tell you straight up, yeah, I punched him dead in his face and he didn't do nothing to me. No kid is going to admit that. So we have cameras. And so then it's down to the point where I have to tell the kids, I'm going to ask you this, and I suggest you not lie to me, because it's not going to be good if you lie to me. And it's not going to be good if I have to go look at the cameras to see exactly what you did. Sometimes they'll go ahead and tell the truth. And sometimes I have to look at the cameras. When I have to look at the cameras, you get double the punishment. So if it's wall sits, we do wall sits, dead bugs, and planks. And usually I do 2, 4, and 6. That's the minutes. Depending on which one is the hardest, I usually give that the longest amount of time. But if I have to go look at the cameras to see what exactly happened, and that tells me you were lying to me, you get double. I've added on stairs. So now they have to run up and down the steps. Now, depending on what they did, how bad it was, that depends on how much step running they have to do. So sometimes you may just have to go up and down 10 times. So up and down is 1. You got to count out loud. If you're not doing what I say, then instead of 10, you now have 15. If you still don't want to count out loud like I asked you to, now you get to keep going until I say stop. I don't remember what the kids did. Most likely didn't do their chores. At this point in life, I'm looking for them to do their chores without being told every day. I have a chore chart, and there's 4 of them placed around the house. They can go to any 4 of them. They know where it is. All you gotta do is go look at it. Today is Friday. Who's got to clean Grandpa's room? Who's got to clean the living room? Somebody's got to clean the kitchen. Somebody has to wash the dishes. I break it down and make it simple and easy. So if you're washing the dishes, you don't have to clean the kitchen. Somebody else is cleaning the kitchen. Although there may be a day where somebody has to wash the dishes and do the kitchen. It's just how it fell. Somebody has to clean the litter. Somebody has to clean the hallway. Somebody has to clean the main bathroom. Somebody has to clean the upstairs bathroom. The classroom has to be done. There's a floor that has to be mopped every night. So if it's Friday, there's a certain floor that has to be mopped on Fridays. But all the other chores still have to be done. So if, say, Samson is supposed to mop the kitchen on Friday, but he also has to do the living room on Friday, then he has to do both of those. On Sunday, all bedrooms should be mopped, along with the rest of your chores. So, chores weren't done. They didn't want to practice their music. They didn't want to do homework. They didn't want to do nothing I said. So, I told them, you got to run the steps until I say stop. The instructions were, go up the steps into the classroom, go around 2 desks, and come back down. Send them around 2 desks to kind of separate them so they're not on top of each other when they're running. You were not to be talking. I don't need you talking. I don't need you stopping. There's no breaks until I say there's a break. When you break those rules, the running continues. They were taking breaks. Because I was in the bathroom, they felt like I couldn't see them. So they would take breaks. And I would tell them, I can hear the difference in you guys actually running and you guys not running. I can hear the difference if there's a break in you guys running up and down the steps. So when I hear that break, that's when I would say something to them. That just stretches the time out on how long you end up running. They end up running for an hour that day. Did it help? Yes, it helped. It definitely helped. The other night, some nights I have to set a timer. If they're moving too slow, we set a timer. I might do 20 minutes. I might do 30 minutes. I might do 10 or 15, depending on how bad the room looks that they need to clean up. If I feel like it should only take you 10 minutes, then I may set a 20-minute timer. When that 20 minutes is up, if you ain't done, we're doing a punishment. And lately, it's been the stairs. So I'll give you 10. So you got to do 10 times, but you need to make sure you're counting out loud so I know that you're actually doing your 10. Some decided they didn't want to count. So when I hear other people counting, the other kids might have been on 10, like 8. Then now I put the other one that's not counting. Okay, so you have 3. And they look at me crazy. You're not counting, so I feel like you're on 3. And until they start counting, I just count backwards. So then you still have to run until you figure out that you're going to do as I say. The rules are count out loud. You don't want to follow the rules, and you keep running until you figure out how to follow the rules. So, it gets better. It definitely gets better. It takes consistency as the parent and as the child. You know, this generation of kids, they do not want to do anything without being told. And it is crazy. It is absolutely absurd, and it gets on my nerves. Can I help you?
Listening to games more.
Were you not listening at practice?
I didn't hear that part.
That means you weren't listening.
No, I heard everything else, but I didn't hear the time.
That means you weren't listening. I said out loud that every boy needs to be there at 1:30. I said it multiple times. I suggest you guys have your chores done before I come in the house. Or y'all are going to be on the steps. You better spread the word. Yeah. Even when you're tired, you still have to be consistent. And I have definitely learned that with the kids. That you go ahead and take your nap if you want to. Because they ain't doing what you told them to do. I can go to the store, like we go to Sam's Club and the kids may be at home. And they know that things need to be done before we get home. And one of the twins had the audacity to say, oh, she's still at Sam's Club. We have like 360, so they're starting to look at it more often. And the twin had the audacity to say, I'm not doing anything right now. She's still at Sam's Club. I got time. Okay. I got time too when I get home and that stuff ain't done, because you could have done it already, but you chose not to. Those are the things that the kids of this generation are doing. And then when they do that and they see that I'm close by, I also send messages on Alexa letting them know I'm almost home. I'll be there in 20 minutes. There is no hustle from them. They still move slow. And then when I get home and it's not done and they have punishment, then they mad. I'm not the one that did wrong. You know, growing up, we would play all day long, tear the house up. But we watched the clock. We knew what time mom and dad were coming home, and we knew to have that house clean before mom and daddy got there. We could have 10, 15 minutes left to before mom and dad got home. And when I say it was a race to get things in order, it was a race to get things in order. Same thing if mama said take some chicken out and we forgot about it. Oh, baby, we in there with that hot water, thawing that chicken out, running, trying to get the house clean. And when mama got home, things was done. But this generation, they got that I don't care spirit. And sometimes it don't matter how much punishment you set forth. They just don't care. But I tell my kids, I know one thing, y'all gonna be in shape. I know that. Y'all gonna be in shape. I will take a chair and sit in the hallway until they have finished the exercise, until they have finished the cleaning. I will deprive myself of that sleep that I want to ensure that they do what needs to be done. And once they've cleaned up, they're like, oh, it looks nice, doesn't it though? Why don't you keep it this way? And I told him, I repeat myself so much. I'm about to buy a tape recorder, so that every time I have to repeat what needs to be said, I'm just gonna press play. And when I said that, Solomon laughed. I said, yeah, it's funny, right? It's funny that I have to keep repeating myself to you guys, when all you have to do is pick up after yourself. You drop it, pick it up. You walk past it, you didn't drop it, but you see it's in the floor, pick it up. It shouldn't be that hard. You walk past that trash can is full. Empty it. Take the bag out. Go through the house and empty the rest of the trash cans. Because a lot of the trash bags we use are big, but the trash can that the bag is going in isn't as big. So when you take the trash bag out, you got plenty of room to go through the house and dump the trash cans in that bag to fill it up. With consistency, they'll get there. Your kid, my kid, all kids, they'll get there. But there's got to be consistency. If you're living in a 2-parent household, there's got to be consistency from the both of you. One can't be consistent and the other one just laid back, letting them play around. You got to be on the same team. You got to be consistent together. And you got to make sure your kids know that as parents, we do talk and we do know what you're doing. And your mama already said no, so it's a no. Or your daddy already said no, it's no. If your daddy told you no, why are you coming to ask me? If your mama told you no, why are you asking me? It's a lot of consistency. It takes consistency in the house, outside the house. What you're doing in the house, you got to do outside the house. You expect your kids to be respectful to you. You should expect them to be respectful to other adults. And they should know that they have to be respectful. A lot of times when we're out at school events or school functions, whatever the case may be, I do sit back and I try to allow the adults that are in charge of my children, I try to allow them to lay the law down, to make sure they let my child know, don't do that. Because I do that because I'm not always there. And when I'm not always there, as the adult that's over my kid needs to know that you mean business. My kid needs to know that even if mama's not there, this adult means business and I need to listen. If that adult tells me that my kid is not doing right in class, best believe I'm going to get hold to them when they get home. And when they come back to school, whether it's camp or it's in the school year or it's a sport I'm not coaching, that adult is going to see a difference. That adult will be able to know from my child's actions that a conversation of some sort was had and some punishment was laid down because my child is behaving like they're supposed to. If my child disrespects you and you let me know, you best believe we are going to have a conversation, a hard conversation, and my child is coming to apologize. And if I cannot be there to see the apology, I will be asking, did you get an apology? Because if that apology is not had, baby, when they get back home, we got a problem. And it should be that way in every household. Everybody chooses a different way of disciplining, and that's cool. Hey. But there has to be discipline, and it has to be consistent.
Can I have that candy now?
What candy?
Like the strawberry ones.
I texted you that day and said you can have some. Did you not get it?
No, I didn't see the text.
Oh, did your phone lock? Maybe your phone locked when I text you back.
No.
Don't eat all of them. What are you eating? Oh, is there any more? Why don't you have a shirt on? It's cold out here. Yeah. So, before I end, for those who just came in, didn't catch the first part of it, the title of my live video is First Impressions. We teach our kids first impressions mean everything, and it does. But I think that we need to teach our kids that every impression is important. If we're hanging out and my first impression of you is, oh, that's a cool person. They very respectful. They probably got some really good kids because they real respectful. I like how they talk to us. Oh, a situation went down. They handled that real good. That's my first impression. We have another encounter and something goes on that you don't like, and you fussing with the coach, you fussing at the coach, you cussing, your kids are standing here looking, and you just going berserk. I have a new first impression. And now my first impression is, that's not the person I want to be associated with. And that's what I tell our kids. I tell our kids, be careful who you hang with. Be careful who is in your friend group. Because it only takes one friend to be doing wrong. A group of kids came to our house last weekend, I think. Or maybe it was Sunday. Middle school kids. I think they're old middle school. And they came to the house and they were looking to do some work, trying to make some money. We didn't have anything at the time. And so we were getting ready to leave the house. Well, I was going to leave the house with some of the kids. And as we got in the car, the kids had went up the road. And majority of the kids were black. There was one, maybe two white kids, but majority of them were black. And they went to a white person's house, which in my neighborhood, on my street, I do know the white neighbors that we have, and they're pretty chill. They're kind. I haven't seen them be disrespectful to anybody's kid or even to us. Can I help you?
When me and she start doing dishes, can you tell him to help me? And if he's on the phone, can you lock it?
I can't lock his phone anymore. What is he doing on his phone?
I don't think he's on his phone. But it's a 50-50 chance he is.
Oh, okay. Well, when on the night that you guys have to do dishes together, that just means that you do some of the dishes and then he has to do some.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be in there when you're doing the dishes. You just do as many as you can and make sure you do them correctly. I don't want to see spots. I don't want to see food in the dishes that you have washed and put in the dish rack. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to be in the kitchen when you do it. So if you want to go ahead and go do your dishes, then go do your dishes and then leave some for him.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, so we were in the car and the boys went up the road to a neighbor's house. It was a white neighbor, and one of the black kids, he is humping the pole. And my kids noticed it and they were like, look at him. And I said, this is a perfect example of watch who your friends are. I said, now these are white people this is white people's house that they're at, and it's a black kid. I said, now these people, they're nice, so I think the kids will be fine there. However, they could have went to the wrong house, and it could have been, the wrong white people, and they look out that house, out their window, and see this black kid humping their pole. Things could have went differently. And I explained that to our kids. You got to be careful who you call friend. You got to be careful who you hang out with as a friend. even in school, you have to be careful what group of friends you hang with, because in school, some of these kids are doing stuff they shouldn't even be doing. They're flooding the bathrooms. They're flooding the toilets by putting too much toilet paper in it or putting paper towels in it. If you're in the bathroom when that happens, now you're in trouble. Instead of you coming out when you heard a bunch of a commotion going on that shouldn't be happening in the bathroom, you stayed in there, you're laughing and giggling, and now there's water flowing out on the floor because y'all don't know how to act. Now you are in this situation and you have been labeled a bad kid because of who you hang with. And I told them it's the same thing with the kids that are up the street. Had they been in a different house, things could have went differently. I don't let my kids walk the streets by themselves anyways, and definitely not with a group of friends. Now, they do get to walk home from school sometime, very seldom. And even that, it's scary, it's nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I constantly pray and cover our children with, by, through, and in the blood of Jesus. I constantly pray that God keeps a hedge of protection around and about them at all times. So I don't sit around and worry about them like that. Can I help you?
I can barely walk.
Okay, you're gonna really barely be able to walk if your chores are not done when I get in the house, because y'all gonna be on them steps. So I suggest that you spread the word, because obviously the word wasn't spread.
Never did.
Oh, it did? Okay. So your chores is done as well as everybody else?
I don't know about everybody else, but I know my chores.
Well, I suggest you be encouraging your brothers to get their stuff down before I get in the house.
How was that my fault?
Did I say it was your fault?
No.
You can encourage them. Hey, mama said y'all better get y'all stuff down before she get up in here. While they finishing their chores, you could be doing your music. Get that band instrument and get the practicing. You could be in there doing some exercises. Y'all got a game tomorrow and y'all need to be ready. You got soccer and baseball. Y'all need to be ready to run. Yeah, that's right. Smack them legs loose. Go stretch. What scratching? Go stretch. Go play your instrument. What hurts?
I'm gonna scratch it.
Oh, okay, well, go. Go. Stretch out. Stretch your legs so they stop hurting. You what?
Trying to pull. Steph's been there for like 2 hours.
Okay, well, until he come out, go play your instrument. Anyways, so yeah, I don't sit and worry about them like that, because what they say, if you gonna pray about it, don't worry about it. I know they say if you gonna worry about it, don't pray about it, but I'm still gonna pray about it. I'm just not gonna worry about it. Like, I've gotten to the point where I just don't worry. I don't. If I'm constantly worried about what's happening and what's going on, I can't get other things done that need to be done. So if they don't get to walk far. So my elementary kids, they can walk together, but it's either the 2 oldest ones have to be together or the 4 of them have to be together for the younger ones to walk home. My older kids, middle school, they're allowed to walk to the Y or the library. That's as far as they get to walk. And even then, I don't like that, because now it's just one at the middle school. Although, once this school year is over. Hey, who is that?
Me?
Bring me some water.
You said what?
Bring me some water.
Someone bring her some water. I got to put the stuff in.
That stuff supposed to be in there. You better hurry up.
We got a tournament next week.
Yeah, bring me some water, please. Quickly. And then my high schooler, he's always wanting to walk somewhere, but there is nothing close enough to him that I will allow him to walk by himself. Now, I did allow him and King to walk home from, I think, band camp once, and that's just because I wasn't going to get to them in time, and there was no one that could take them home. Again, they have to be together. I do not allow any of my kids to walk anywhere by themselves, especially a long distance. Usually, if they are by themselves, we are on video, or at least a phone call so I can hear. But again, I don't worry. I don't. That's another story for another live about me not worrying about stuff. But as far as my kids go, I pray about it, I leave it in God's hands, and I go on about my business. The kids are in everything. My husband and I are here, there, everywhere, trying to get them all to their different practices where they need to go. So I don't have time to worry. I've had to learn to definitely trust the coaches and allow them to bring my kids home. And even in that instance, I don't want to hear you moaning and groaning if you're not going to listen to the things I said. I said go stretch. Sit down on the floor, bend over, touch your toes. Stand up.
Did you see that?
Weren't you the one sitting right here talking about your legs is hurting?
No.
That won't you?
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you too. With you lookalikes. Go stretch. Bend over and touch your toes.
Yeah.
Lock your knees so that you touching your toes and you feel the stretch. Sit down on the floor. Touch your toes. Spread your legs out. Bend over. Touch your toes. Lay on your back. Cross your foot over your knee. Reach behind and grab that thigh. Pull your leg back. Stretch. Go stretch.
Can I get one of those Yorks?
No. Go stretch. Stay out my candy. I don't know what got in my throat. But, y'all, it definitely bothers me. The conversations I have to have, or that we have to have with our kids. Conversations that didn't have to be had when we were growing up. The conversations about sex trafficking. The conversations about being lured to a playground. Or, yeah, we were growing up, we were talking about stranger danger, don't talk to strangers. That is not enough anymore. It's not enough anymore. Some of these adults out here are making great first impressions on our children. And our children are believing those first impressions, like, oh yeah, that's a nice person, I can ride with them. No you cannot, sir. I tell my kids, you don't get in nobody's car without me saying so. Even with Samson being in high school, he came home one day from some practice. I don't know if it was band practice or tennis practice, golf practice. I don't know. He came home. It wasn't golf. It was tennis or band. And he came home one day. I didn't know he was ready to leave practice. And he came home. And I said, excuse me, how did you even get home? He says, my friend took me home. I said, don't you ever get in the car with anybody I don't know about, number one. Number two, I didn't know you were getting in someone else's car. And number three, I don't know your friends. I've never seen your friends drive. And so, therefore, you are not to ride with a friend. You are to ride with an adult who is driving. Even then, it's crazy to think that someone else has to drive your kid around. Speaking of first impressions, I had a first impression of this one boy. Every time I've seen him, even from a young kid, I'm pretty sure I coached him in basketball 1 year maybe. And seeing him, it's like he's very respectful, very mannerable. He's a good kid. Like, I would definitely allow my kid to hang out with him. Once Samson got to high school, I was like, yeah, you know, if Samson need a ride from school, from sports or whatever, I would let him ride with this kid. Until I saw that kid drive. And I had to tell Samson, you are never to get in that child's car. The vehicle he had, it was a nice car. Seeing him drive that car, he was definitely that kid that wanted to show his car off. Which, when you have a kid who's driving and they're trying to show off their car, that is not the kid that I want my kid riding with. So the first impression that I have of that I had of that child definitely left when I saw a new impression of that kid. Now, don't get me wrong, I still feel like that kid is very respectful, very mannerable. Just not a kid that can drive my kid around. But I have also heard some other things about that same kid from another adult that has to deal with that kid. You know, saying that he's a lazy child. He doesn't really want to do any work. He wants it done for him. He wants things handed to him, which a lot of kids, they want everything handed to them. You tell them to go find something and they're like, where is it at? Go find it. I tell my kids to go get the paper towel out the cabinet in the bathroom. Which one? Figure it out. You figure it out. So first impressions change. It's not just the first impression that matters. Every impression matters. Every time you're around a person, how you behave matters. How you behave changes how that person feels about you. And as kids, when they're hanging out, they could always have a great impression. Like a lot of people, almost everybody that I hear from says our kids are very mannerable. They're very respectful. They're good young boys. But if you're hanging with the wrong group of kids, they're not labeled as good kids anymore. They get in trouble just because they're hanging with this other kid who keeps doing things to get in trouble. And so the teacher wasn't around to see what happened, but she heard these 5 kids were in the situation together, and my kid was there. So now my kid's in trouble because he was wrong place, wrong time. Now my kid is in trouble because he was hanging with the wrong group. So now I am focused on teaching our children it's not just the first impression that matters, it's every impression that matters. I also recently told our kids that when you are out here in public, at school, playing sports, if you're disrespectful to anybody, but definitely an adult, your coach, any adult who has authority over you in those moments, you're not just representing yourself. You're representing your parents. You're representing your siblings. And I explain to them what that means and what that looks like. And I say, you know, a lot of people look at me and your daddy and they say, oh, they're some great parents. They are awesome parents. Oh, they're doing a great job. And then when you turn around and you act a fool and you act like you don't know how to show respect, now those same people who gave us all that praise, now they're questioning our parenting skills. I tell them how you behave affects your brothers. I explain to them how that looks. Especially if you're the oldest and you have siblings behind you. You're misbehaving, okay? So now school year is getting ready to end. And now the teachers and the coaches, they're like, oh God, there's more of them coming up now. Or are they going to be the same way? Are they going to be worse than this one? Are they going to do better than this one? So I tell them how you behave and how you act in public, it doesn't just affect you. It affects us as parents. It affects your siblings, especially the younger ones. And it affects the entire family. So when you're out here, be sure to always make a good impression. The first one definitely matters. But the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the 200th impression matters. And that's what needs to be taught to kids nowadays. It's not just the first impression. Kids need to know that every impression that they make each time matters. And it makes a difference in life. If we're hanging out as a group, and my first impression is, oh yeah, they cool, I want to hang with them. But then we hang out again and you got a nasty attitude and you arguing over something that didn't call for an argument, I don't know if I want to hang with you anymore. What you want?
I think my part did dishes, but Samson won't.
Where's he at?
They're in the bathroom, I think, still.
Okay, well, how many dishes did you do?
I didn't count.
You didn't count? So did you do this many, or did you do this many? You did that many. Yeah. So how many is left? This many?
No.
Or this many? Just a little bit? Okay, well, you can't force Samson to come out and do what he needs to do. So now what you need to do is make sure your room is clean. So you did your part in the kitchen, and now you need to go do your part in your room. Get your side of the room clean. Because when I come in the house, what's not done, you guys are going to be running steps.
Okay.
Hurry up. So yeah, if the first impression isn't always the same impression that you guys are giving out, it changes the perspective of what people are now seeing. It does not make them want to continue to hang with you. You know, a lot of people you see, especially when they have these big roles, whether it's like, when I say role, I mean like authority, teacher, principal, administrators, doctors, nurses, lawyers. You have these big roles. Even a coach, you're in these positions, and usually people see you great first impression, great second impression, great third impression, great fourth impression. The next year comes around and we have this encounter again, and now you just ugly. Your behavior is ugly. And then you hear other adults, they're like, you didn't know? No. I never seen this. You know, when they say people have different sides to them, that's what they're talking about. On one side, you have this great first impression, great 10th impression. All those impressions from 1 to 10 has been a great impression. And then 11 comes around and it's like, whoa, this is a different person. Like, I've known this person 2-3 years, never seen this behavior, and now there's a new behavior. It doesn't matter that for 3 years you've been this very nice person, very sweet and humble. It only takes one bad impression for people to change how they think about you. And again, that's something that kids need to be taught. There are kids that I see how they act, and some kids act as if they're better than other kids. Some kids act as if they're better than other kids because of the role that their parents play. Their mom is a doctor, but their friend's mom is a garbage collector, or their friend's dad is a garbage collector. So now that kid feels like they're better than the next kid. And because they're not being taught that every impression matters, that's where bullies start. It really is. That's where a bully starts. If you have a kid who's acting as if they're always better than the next kid, that's where bullying begins. When you are making another kid feel like they're less than because their parents don't have the same level of job as their parents have, that's where the bullying begins. That's where the bad impressions start. And if it's not fixed, if it's not corrected, it continues on into adulthood. And then as your kid gets older, you're wondering why they can't get along with people. And it's because it was never fixed. One of my sons, he likes to be very technical about a lot of things. And I have to talk to him and I have to let him know, you're not going to have a lot of friends if you keep doing stuff like that. Not everything has to be so technical. Not everything has to be your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. Not in every situation. You know, you're just having a normal conversation. Everybody has their own opinions. And just because their opinion doesn't match up with what your opinion is, doesn't make their opinion wrong. And you can't make them feel as though their opinion is wrong and their opinion doesn't matter. That is also how bullying starts. When you always feel like you're right and everybody else is wrong. That is giving off an impression that you're better than other people. You won't be labeled the way you should be labeled when you do things of that matter. It won't matter if you have a 3.7 or 3.8 or 4.0 GPA. None of that will matter if your first impression, if your every impression is not respectful, nice, kind human being. Someone who looks out for others and not just themselves. It won't matter that you have a 4.0 GPA. It won't matter that you're smart. People are going to talk about you in a negative way. They're going to look at you in a negative way. And depending on the child, they eventually are going to feel bad because of how people are looking at them. Because their impressions are not good. And because their parents are not telling them, you can't act like that. You got to make a good impression every time. And making a good impression is not telling your kid that they need to be fake. If your kid is naturally just mean, then you need to teach them better behavior. You're not being a fake person if you're being kind to people. That should come naturally. That should be taught. And for those who are Christians and believe in God, that is a command. Treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. There's so many times I have to say that to our kids, and they look at me crazy, and I'm like, I don't want to hear it. A lot of times when I tell our kids, do unto others as you have them do unto you, and I get this look, and I'm like, the Bible doesn't say do unto others as they do to you. It says do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you want them to be nice to you, you be nice to them. Well, he's not nice to me. Well, I'm sorry that he's not nice to you, but you still have to be nice to him. Eventually, that person will come around and be nice. And does it feel good to continue to be nice to people who are mean to you? No, it doesn't. But that makes you the better person. And I tell the kids, your daddy and I, we are not raising bullies. We are not raising mean people. We are raising kind children, smart children, respectful kids. We are raising kids who are very talented and who know better and will do better. That is what we are raising. I don't have anything to do with the friend that is being mean to you. If you got a friend that's being mean to you, you don't need to be friends with them. If they don't know how to treat you kind, they're not a friend. And you don't need to hang with them. Those are things that we tell our kids. You don't got to be friends with everybody. You do have to be nice. You do have to be kind. And you do have to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you don't want them laughing at you because you fail, don't laugh at them when they fall. Help them up. Be kind. Kindness goes a long ways. So, that is my talk on first impressions. It was very, very long, but I feel like it was very much needed. Because I've just been seeing a lot of new impressions, I can say, from people who I never thought would act in the manners that I've been seeing as a coach. Not just in this year, not just last year. Ever since I've been coaching. It just amazes me to see how the parents act. I've had parents tell me that when I correct their kid during practice, it makes it look like I'm picking on them. And I told them it won't matter when I correct them. If I tell them to stay after practice, the kids are going to see that and they're going to feel like that kid is in trouble. If I wait till the end of practice to correct them, they won't have any idea what I'm correcting them about. I correct them when the mistake happens so that we can fix it then, and then we can keep moving forward. It's hard to fix a mistake you made when you talk about it at the end of the practice instead of during practice. Practice is where we make mistakes and we fix mistakes. So therefore, I'm going to get on your child in practice, at practice. And as I spoke earlier, I don't take disrespect from anybody's kid. If you're disrespectful, you run. In basketball, if you're missing layups, everybody's running. If you're missing free throws, everybody's running. It's a team. And as a team, we're going to do good as a team. Same thing in baseball. You're not catching the balls, we're all going to run. If you're talking when I'm talking, eventually we're all going to run. Well, the team is going to run. I'm not running. I know last year the boys had a coach who I liked. I missed the game. I want to say it was Big M night. But I did hear that after the game was over with, the kids were made to run, and a lot of parents fussed at that coach, told her she should have been running with them if she was going to make them run, was telling her that she was embarrassing those kids, and from what I heard, they needed to run. They had attitudes that night. They weren't doing what they were supposed to do because of the attitudes. They needed to run. They absolutely needed to run. I agreed with the coach. I contacted the coach and I let her know, do not let these parents run you off. You are doing a great job. If the kids were not listening, if they were goofing off in the middle of a game, if they had attitudes during the game, they deserved to run, and you do not need to run with them. Parenting has become totally different from when we were growing up. And I honestly have to say, some parents are just very soft. They're not like our parents when we grew up. There was no way ever back in the day that we could have had an attitude like that. Number one, and the coach allowed us to stay in the game. We wouldn't have even been in the game. Coach would have took us out and sat us. We would have been benched, no matter what sport it was. That's number one. The coach would not have allowed it. Number two, our parents would have got hold to us in the middle of the game. There is no way back in the day parents would have allowed their children to have an attitude out there on the court, the field, whatever sport it was, and the child not be dealt with. Back in the day, the coaches had us running like crazy over an attitude, missing shots, different things, and the parents didn't have anything to say about it. Now, you can barely say anything to a kid, and the parents are going off. But for me, as a coach, I don't care. I don't care if you go off about your kid having to run too much. Year before last when I coached basketball, I had a parent fuss at me, telling me that her kid was doing too much running and he had neuropathy. I said, it's basketball. We're going to run. We're running. And she was cussing at me, and I told her, I said, look, we're not going to use that language in here. And she said, I'll talk however the F I want to talk. And so I walked off, and I continued coaching. And she said, I'm taking my kid out of here. And I said, goodbye. I am old school. And I don't care if you don't like that I'm making your kids run. It's a sport they have to run in. They will be running. I don't care if you don't like that I'm having to continue to call your kid's name because they're doing something wrong. I will not allow a child to do something incorrectly and not correct them. They won't learn. They won't get better. I also will not allow a child to be disrespectful to me. I will say something. If you cannot listen, you can run or you can sit down. You don't have to play. And that is just me. And it would be nice if all coaches were that way. I do know there's a coach now that's getting a lot of backlash for how they're coaching. There's not a whole lot I can say about that particular coach because I haven't seen it myself. And I need to see it for myself before I can say that that coach is being too rough or too harsh. But I seriously feel like it is nothing more than what coaches used to do when we were growing up, being on a team. You know, as a parent, we got to be a little bit harder on our kids, especially if we want them to succeed in life. Because in life, these bosses that they're going to be under, they don't care. You got an attitude, you could be fired just like that. As they get older and move on to middle school, high school, there are some coaches that are not going to take the back talking. They're not going to take your child not listening when they are told to do something. Your child will be sitting on the bench. And matter of fact, your child may not even make the team. I was looking at Bulldog Nation cheerleading team. When I saw how many kids actually made the team, I was like, whoa, that is a small number. And I heard from a teacher that the kids were told and they were warned that if you have an attitude, you will not be on the team. And the teacher that I was talking to, she told me that a lot of kids did not believe what they said, but they were definitely showed that the coaches from Bulldog Nation meant business. They stood on business. They meant what they said. And so this year, the team is a lot smaller than what it was the past couple of years that they have been doing the middle school cheer team. And that is what the kids need. They need somebody that is going to hold them accountable. They need someone that's going to let them know your attitude will not get you far when it's negative. I applaud the coaches of Bulldog Nation for standing on business and letting these girls know you can't be on here with an attitude. Because in life, as they get older, there's going to be things they're not going to be able to do just because of their attitude. And if it's not taught to them now, it's going to be a rude awakening, especially for those that want to go to college. It's like I'm trying to tell our kids now. When you go off to college and you're playing sports, there's curfew, there's room checks, there's grade checks. They're not playing about your grades. They're not playing about your room being nasty. They're not playing about you not following rules and not being in your room at curfew. You will be on the bench for breaking those rules that are set forth. I tell my kids now, when you go to college, when an assignment is due, it is due. Once that due date is done, that's it. You don't get a chance to go back and complete that. If you get a teacher that does allow you to turn in late assignments, it comes with a penalty. You lose 10% for it being late so many days. And then after that, it's almost no point in even doing it because you've turned it in so late, you still got a 0. So there's a lot of correcting that has to be done and needs to be done now before these kids get to middle school, before they get to high school. Because when they get to college, it's going to be a rude awakening. The way that things are happening now, this new rule of no kid left behind, ridiculous. You guys are setting these kids up for failure. These kids that are getting pushed forward and they're not truly making passing grades, you're setting them up for failure. I don't know who made the rule for Virginia, no kid left behind. You need to take it back. Y'all need to go back to allowing kids to be failed. Some of these kids really need to repeat a grade. You're just pushing them forward to be even more behind because they didn't learn what they needed to know the grade before that would help them in the grade they're going to. And it's mind-blowing to see the whole no kid left behind. It's painful for me as a parent. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with that because, number one, we don't play games when it comes to grades. But number two, as a parent, just knowing that some of these kids are just getting passed by because they're not allowed to be left behind, it's painful to know because the kids are not pushing themselves to do what they really could do. Most of these kids are very smart. They're very bright kids, but let's face it, how many of them you think are really going to put forth the effort that's needed when they know they're not going to get left behind? When they know they have all month to turn in late assignments, and if they don't turn it in, they still won't fail the class. They will get the lowest D possible, but they will still pass and move on to the next grade. I mean, do y'all really expect the kids, every kid, to put forth that effort? They're not going to do it. When kids were actually being left behind and failed, they put forth effort that next following year. Most of them did, so that they could pass and not continue to get left behind. It's very sad and it's very heartbreaking to see so many kids getting passed on, but they're not even learning the information. I used to babysit some kids, and I would help them with their homework, and to see how far behind they were, a fourth grader reading on a kindergarten level, because no one took the time to push them to do better because of their behavior. Their first impressions put them at a point where nobody wanted to deal with them. Nobody wanted to take the time to help them understand what it was they needed to do. Because they had an older sibling who acted out all the time. That first impression from the older sibling was passed down to those siblings, and it's like, God, here comes another one. We got to deal with this one too. So nobody wanted to really work with those kids. And then because they weren't getting anybody that wanted to work with them, and because the first impression of the older siblings kept getting passed down to them, then their behaviors just matched the behaviors of their older siblings. So they weren't getting the extra help that they needed. However, when I had to work with them, they had to do what they had to do their work. They had to learn it. They had to take the time and do the work and actually figure out the problems. Actually do the math. Not just put an answer down so they could say they did it. They had to actually do the work. And it's just, first impressions mean everything, but so does every impression. Every impression that is given means something. The impressions that you gave a year ago don't mean anything if today you're nasty to an adult because you felt your kid should have been doing something differently than what they were doing. The impressions you gave last year don't matter today, because now we see that you're actually a nasty person. You have a nasty attitude because your kid didn't get to play the position you felt they should play, or they didn't get enough playing time that you felt they should play. But the whole time your kid has a nasty attitude towards the coaches and the teammates, so that's why they're not playing as much as you think they should play. So now you got a nasty attitude, and now everybody's looking at you like, wow, this is how they act. So you teach your kids that every impression matters. And as an adult, you need to remember that every impression matters. It won't matter that you're a doctor, a lawyer, a preacher, a teacher, an administrative worker. It won't matter. Those titles mean nothing if you have a nasty attitude. Those titles mean nothing if you don't make your kids be respectful to the adult that has authority over them in those moments and in those times. And just know that if you have a kid that ever has to come encounter with me, I don't allow anybody's child to disrespect me. I don't allow my kids to do it. I won't allow another kid to do it. I will let your kid know, hey, watch how you talk to me because I'm an adult. I won't be nasty with your child, but I will speak up and let them know you're talking to an adult and you need to relax. You need to chill. You need not talk to me like that because I'm an adult. I asked you to do something and you need to do what it is I'm asking you to do. Because at the end of the day, I'll never ask somebody's kid to do something that's going to hurt them. I'll never ask a kid to do something that's going to be harmful to them or to another child. So if I'm asking that your kid do something, they need to do it. Be respectful and do what the adult who has authority over you in those moments are telling you to do. Because when you don't, that impression that you're giving off, it matters, and it says a lot about who the parents are. It says a lot about what the siblings could be like. And it makes it hard for the adult to want to continue to work with the child or even have to deal with the parents. And so just be mindful of how you guys are interacting with other adults, especially in front of children. You don't want to teach the children these bad behaviors. Teach your kids every impression matters. And life itself would go better. It really would. That's all for tonight. Stay blessed. Remember, every impression matters, no matter what your title is. Your title means nothing if you're not making good impressions. And teach your kids, be careful who you're friends with. You as an adult, be careful who you're friends with. Be careful who you sit down with and hang out with. Because if they're doing wrong, you're going to be labeled as doing wrong as well. Stay blessed. Have a great night.